Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing the new Patience is a Virtue seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which every card in our hand transforms into a random card every turn. Normally that makes it very hard to build a deck, but today we're using the meta deck that just got way stronger. So let's go give it a look. So today we'll be revisiting what was already one of, if not the strongest decks in this event, Northern Realms Pincer Maneuver, built around Erland, because with Erland, we can load up our deck with a whole bunch of units and then use our leader ability to bring Erland out, boost all those units, and use his order ability to get a humongous point slam. And because with Pincer Maneuver, we can get an important card in our hand and play it on the same turn, we can circumvent the randomness of this event. Not only that, this leader ability is now way stronger than before because for the first time in this event, we can get anything out from our deck as long as it's not a neutral. We're no longer limited to cards from just Northern Realms, giving us new flexibility that we didn't have before in this event. So of course, every card in our hand will get randomized before we get the chance to play it. However, if we keep cards in our deck and then use our leader ability to get them into our hand and play them before they transform, that gives us amazing consistency that no one else can match in this event. That means we want to keep Erland, Siggy, Radovid, Drakenborg, Dandelion, Roach, and Best Boy all in our deck if possible. And if you can keep Margarita and Redanian Secret Service in your deck as well, that is definitely very nice too. That's roughly the order of their importance as well. Redanian Secret Service more important than Margarita, but other than that, try to keep those in your deck and then use your leader ability to get them out so you can play them. In round 1, you can use your leader ability to play Radovid whenever you have a bad hand. That way you always have at least a way to get 8 points on that turn and a way to get more leader ability charges to give you more flexibility going forward. And if you can get those extra leader ability charges or use your stratagem, Cursed Scroll, you can get Dandelion, who will help deck boost on Siggy, who you will keep in your deck, and he is the best recipient of those deck boosts because he will double whatever boosts he receives. Then in round 3, we'll use Erland as a big finisher, and if we still have Redanian Secret Service in our deck, then we can use Drakenborg to get out Siggy, absorb those deck boosts that he received, purify Siggy with the Redanian Secret Service, and use him to play whatever other card we want that Erland had boosted. Then at the very end of the match, click on Erland's order ability, and you get that huge boost. In addition to that extra card you're getting with Siggy, which, because he's a new card, obviously we couldn't do before. Other than that, it's all about playing whatever the best random card happens to be that shows up in your hand. So let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here, and they'll go first. Okay, so we have many cards that we want to try to keep in our deck here. Radovid is one of them. Roach is one of them. They technically aren't the absolute most important cards, so want to be a little bit careful here. Let's mulligan Radovid. Margarita is another card we'd kind of like to keep if possible, but especially with only one mulligan remaining, I'm not going to use it here, otherwise we run the risk of bricking more important cards, most importantly, Erland, Siggy, or Drakenborg. So I think we'll just have to settle for losing Roach and some control with Margarita. And they do have Caller, which means presumably they're going to use this, and that will get out our Redanian Secret Service, which is actually kind of interesting, because that means that Drakenborg will not have a way to purify the thing that we lock with Drakenborg. So that's a little bit questionable for that reason. It may mean that we are not really going to be playing around Drakenborg all that much. Morkvarg is the best card we have in hand here at the moment, but don't have a great way to use him right now. We could go Light Cavalry, which probably has the best long-term potential here. It is fairly easy for them to counter. It might even be the target of their Caller. Well, there's Margarita, and there is the Redanian Secret Service. That's not the status that we thought they were going to use, I suppose, at least not initially, but yeah, that does also get out Redanian Secret Service. Armory? Okay, I mean, sure. Gets that Roach, sure, just rub it in our face. Okay, so, I mean, we could get the Fleminique out here, and that would help us heal off the damage. Otherwise, I mean, Istrid can actually be a little bit dangerous, but can be effective with our leader ability. We could lock you if we were really concerned. I mean, I don't really expect them to be playing much in the way of vampires, but even without that, still decent in a long round, so maybe we'll keep it simple here, and we will lock you, and still not necessarily sure we want to use Redanian Secret Service there. So we know they're gonna lock... I mean, they could lock Redanian Secret Service, I suppose. They could poison. Or no, they'll purify. Okay, fair enough. One way or another, they were gonna find a way around our purification and whatnot. Okay. Yennefer Illusionist. Illusion is 4 power, which would destroy Best Boy. That would boost her up. That's not bad. Alternatively, Apiarian Phantom early on in a round is not bad. I mean, either way, we want to play something here. I think, especially since you're probably one of, if not our highest provision cost card. Don't want it to get bricked. That makes sense for us to play there. You have Assimilate, though, which means you're going to get huge. Okay, it's Torres. That's, speaking of huge. Well, we're going to immediately destroy him, is the thing. I imagine. So he's, what, boosted by 9. And we can, yeah, completely remove him. Otherwise, I was going to go potentially Vivian on Yennefer, and that would have gotten her a 7-point boost, which would have been nice. And, I mean, Bloody Baron technically works as well. In fact, dropping you down to 4 with a 6-point body as well, technically speaking, is probably a little bit better. Alright, I guess we'll actually go this route then. And gonna go for the Zeal, just in case. Just in case. So yeah, that could have worked, but that's technically a couple points better. Alright, now the Light Cavalry very likely will go down. Oh, or not. Terra Nova. They're getting all the Assimilate. But they... Oh, yeah. They added the... Alright, that is ridiculous luck in that case. Torres, and immediately thereafter, Terra Nova. But we can keep you alive either through Shaping Nature or... I mean, well... We have Drakenborg that randomly showed up here. The problem is, Drakenborg, especially when they've already gotten rid of our only Redanian Secret Service, is not great. Not great anymore. So especially when we've not really gotten the chance to boost anything. So I think we're going to have to let this one go. In fact, it is actually not very valuable at the moment. Alright, so let's... Do we want the Veil? To prevent the bleed? Maybe we just settle for the straightforward boosting. And, I mean, this cavalry has turned into a very solid engine for us. Ard. Well, I jinxed it. Can't say I'm surprised. But now let's see. Onsace is not terrible. If we were to play him in the range row, we of course prefer to get him boosted up, which we can't really do all that reliably. Yennefer Illusionist with Helvide does work. And we deal 2 damage to either Geralt or... That's their second best boy. Okay. Oh, no, we'd actually destroy Torres, which would get you boosted up. Which is a nice little bonus, I suppose. Leo, unfortunately... well, they do have a Witcher, so we could remove you. It's not great value. We have a lot of 3s. That's not worth doing. I think it's Helvide here. It's that, and just once on this turn, so then we can do it on our next turn as well. Because Yennefer can only do the damage once per turn. And, you know, we'd kind of like to get a Radovid out in round 1. At this point, it's probably too late, because if we are to play Radovid, our opponent could pass and prevent us from being able to click Radovid's order ability, which is not absolutely necessary, but would be nice. I don't believe have it. Oh, we have Drakenborg. Which, as I was just saying, is a card that we actually are not that concerned about playing, because we don't have... What the heck? Oh, well, I mean, they had the Torres. I was like, how do they have these cards? Oh, that's potentially how they got the extra best boy as well, although... Yeah, because they put spying on ours. Okay, that's definitely what happened then. So, Tin Boy is very good. And range row there, I mean, this is crowded by some artifacts and some units with armor. It might be better in this row, tell you the truth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's actually better melee row. Alright, so let's do... this, and I think it is better to do this before we go with Helvide, because now we do have something that, again, will destroy and get boosted up in the process. Hemdall, we are at reasonably wide in both rows, so that's pretty good value, and obviously 8-point body as well, and they have 2 assimilate engines. The fact that we've been this competitive for this long is actually kind of surprising. Use the student order as well. So War Council gives us some carryover potential, which is very nice. Sove is not going to have anything to get out from our deck. However, it is a 12-point body, which is enough to get us close, and on our next turn we could potentially still catch them. But War Council, I think it's too hard to pass up on that carryover. And this is Radovid. Okay, I think we have to go for it then. So I would think they will probably pass on their next turn. In which case, we may not be able to have enough time to use Radovid here. Well, I don't know. I don't know if Svalbard is a net positive or a net negative here. Probably a net negative at the moment. But it is interesting, to say the least, to consider that. They'll get rid of Yen. Not that surprised to see that. So, well now, we have a few less units. Is it worth Svalblooding? I don't know, man. Svalbard is always a mystery to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 units versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 units, not including Svalbard. We both have a unit with 1 armor. So it's pretty hard to say. We'll get the Svalbard Fanatic out there. So I guess there's that. Is that reason enough? Tellionin, technically we could use to put back Best Boy. Might arguably be better. Alright, we'll play it safe. We'll play it safe. But that was tempting. There, Best Boy comes out. And Gregory is a big point slam here. I think we might be able to catch them. Because Gregory is going to get boosted by every unit we control. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's a lot. We use Tellionin first, though. Get the extra unit here. Do we care about purification? I mean, we can get rid of 1 point of bleed. I guess that's not terrible. Elves. Not a lot. And that's technically still more damage. Yeah, in just about every situation. So it's that. And then it's Gregory, who I think now should single-handedly be enough. Definitely. So we also can now do Helvide, although I guess technically we shouldn't, in case we have reason to hold on to our coins. And we can use War Council. Okay, we did go a card down to win round 1, which does make me wonder if we're going to end up pushing and getting the value from War Council or not. Okay, so we draw into the echoed copy of Shaping Nature, which is pretty nice, because at 9 provisions, that's a card that should be reasonably valuable. I think let's be a little bold here. I'm going to mulligan out one of these guys and see if we get something that's... I mean, we don't have much in the way of high provision cost cards in our deck, other than the ones that we really want to save. So I'm not about to mulligan again, otherwise we run the risk of bricking one of these 2 guys and not having a way to fix that. So we'll finish here. The question is, do we have anything big enough to warrant playing in this round and using the War Council ability, which is worth 4, possibly 6 points? If it's a soldier, you're not a soldier, nor are you a warrior. You're a warrior, but it has to be soldier. Yeah. So it's not great. It's not great. We do have leader ability charges to spare. If we really wanted to, we could try going a card down, and we would have to go straight into Erland, then Siggy, then last turn, use Siggy to play something from our deck, and I don't think it adds up. I don't think we should be doing that. If we had a little bigger cards in hand, maybe we could have justified it, but I think, in truth, we'll just leave this War Council unused. Alright, and that means they'll win round 2. Okay, and we do draw into Siggy, which is a card we would like to save. We also draw into Drakenborg, usually a card we'd like to save. However, we've already lost our Redanian Secret Service, so we don't have a way to guarantee that we can purify whatever we get with Drakenborg. For that reason, I think we keep this in hand, and we're fine having this transform into a random 10 provision cost card, which will actually give us decent value. So I think we settle for this. Tibor is going to turn to a 13, which may not be great news for us, because that might be a brick. It is a brick. I mean, Regis has a target. He's actually not atrociously awful. Mushy Truffle. What do they have? Illusionist. Which they will use to get Light Cavalry. Okay, so this is one of those situations where maybe getting something like Regis is not terrible. Or Manticore Venom is not perfect, but it does remove you, which is something I'd like to do here. We do have a bunch of leader ability charges, so we actually have a little bit of flexibility there, and in truth, we may want to get out a turn 1 Dandelion. I think that probably is best for us here. So then we can try to get a little bit of Siggy boost going before we eventually end up summoning him out. Let's... On one hand, we can put a low provision cost card in our deck. I think we actually prefer to put... Let's put Regis, just because he's our highest provision card, and I think if we don't play him now, then he's just gonna turn into a scenario on our next turn and maybe not have enough time in a somewhat short round 3 for us to get much value out of him. Okay, Rune Word, Ard Student. This will hit Dandelion, so he's definitely not going to be inspired unless we find a way to boost him here. But we could lock you, we could destroy you and get boosted from you, which is probably better still. Unfortunately, Brothans does not work for us because we do not have any disloyal units in our starting deck. Skjall is big, but especially when they have the cavalry on the board here is a pretty huge risk. Vanadane, no, probably not. So I think it's Glusty. To be honest, I think it is Glusty. Destroy you, get boosted in the process, and then we target Siggy. And we have one more turn where we could play from our hand here before we're going to have to go Erland, Siggy. Although technically with the leader ability charge to spare, we could go for one other card with Pincer Maneuver if we really want to. They'll go Aguara, which is potentially good, and it's Shaping Nature, which is, yeah, solid. Okay, so that's now 11 points. Teshamutna Sword is enough to destroy Ard Student, which right now would be 6 points of, soon to be 7 points of value, so that's not terrible. I'm assuming we don't have anything to get out with Blood Eagle, but let me double check. Warriors? Any unexpected warriors in our deck? I don't think so. Okay. So, anyone... We could move you, actually, with War Chariot, which might be slightly better, to be honest. We get points on the board, deny you the order ability, but getting rid of you might be better still. Yeah. Even Chrome Mother's not terrible. Leader ability charge, we technically could do on this turn, but don't love our options. I guess we'll go War Chariot, and we might even go Melee Rover for the bleed, to be honest. Not quite enough time to get the full value out of that, but it is 9 points, which I think is still better than anything else would have been. Now we do need to go with leader ability charges. Otherwise, we won't have time to use all the order abilities because cards that we are going to go for do not have Zeal. So let's go Dandelion, and now this one's going to be Erland with our leader ability. So if we do that, then that means Erland will boost every card in our deck. So we shouldn't need... Oh, that also means... Oh, the bleed is going to make Regis a little bit stronger. So when we use Erland, we're going to boost everything in our deck, which means Siggy's order ability we will be able to use to get any other unit out from our deck, and it might end up being Regis. So I think we're still boosting Siggy here, though. Leader ability now. Erland. We'll put back maybe Saris in case we find a way to play a warrior. I know you're the highest provision card, and I think that's too much of a risk to hold on to you here. Let's go isn't necessarily a super safe place to put you. Treason could hit you, as it could there. Gezras also is capable of dealing... we put a lot of stuff in the melee row, actually. But before we click this, now this is the turn where we play Siggy. So we need time to use his order again, no Zeal. And no Drakenborg, so we're just playing him directly. And we have done now a reasonable bit of boosting on him. So he's certainly not bad. And who would we like to put back into our deck? Mostly looking at provision cost here. Do we want a 10 provision card or do we want a 13 provision card? I think 13's a little risky, so let's put War Elephant back, I think. We'll go for the 10 with Coral. Do still have a leader ability charge remaining, so we could tutor somebody out if absolutely necessary, and it actually could be the War Elephant, so that's not bad. So let's go here. And yeah, Ard, I mean, we might get some value out of this. So we're going to see what they get with their leader ability. They'd, of course, love to go after Siggy, who does not have immune, whereas Erland does, so he should be pretty safe. Siggy less so. They still have a lot of orders left. Last turn, Glynis is not great, although they can use the Mushy Truffle, which will get her at least a little bit boosted up here. Alright, and now we see they have a big lead, but we have a lot of stuff that we're still looking to do here. So let's go Dandelion, and doesn't matter too much what we boost, because we're going to absorb the boost. The question is, are we going to bring out Regis? We're going to bring out War Elephant. War Elephant will not have time to use the order ability, so you're functionally going to be an 8-point body. I think that means Regis is still better. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Doesn't really matter who we're targeting here all that much. Now we can do Erland. It might not be enough. I think our biggest body now is War Elephants. More so than Ard, perhaps. Ard might have been better. They don't have adjacent units. They don't have adjacent units. But it is just barely enough for us to hold on for the win. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here. And they'll go first. Alright, and this is just about worst case scenario for us. Kind of, sort of. We have 2 mulligans, and we have 4 cards that we would like to keep in our deck here. Most importantly, probably Erland. And then we're going to have to choose between these 3 who we keep, and the other ones are going to get transformed into something else. I think it might be Siggy. I mean, these 2 work with Erland, but without the support of the other cards are definitely not as effective as they would otherwise tend to be. I guess we'll keep Siggy. So that is painful. That is painful. But it does mean we have some higher provision cost cards than we might normally have in our starting hand here, including Ernichad. Granted, playing him turn 1 is not usually something that you're all that thrilled about doing. Okay, they'll go Saskia. They're going to be able to summon anything out? Yes. Okay, and tell you what. I think Offering might actually be our best option here. Now, Letho Kingslayer is not bad, for sure, and we could, I guess, turn into a Saskia. We don't get the deployability, though, so it's not great. As I said, an early Ernichad is definitely not that great, because it's going to take a long time for him to activate, and might not even activate in round 1. Let's go Offering. We'll go for the Dryad, and then this is an opportunity for us to actually have a way to boost Siggy in our deck, which, after having lost Dandelion, is not really something that we thought we were going to have that much of an easy time doing. They'll go Glynis, which is very strong. It's basically everything is activating their Assimilate. Do we have a way to mess with Glynis? Unfortunately, we don't have Bloodthirst 1. We have 2 Redanian Secret Services in hand. I mean, we do still have our original one in our deck. Something to be said for mulliganing, or for rather, pincer maneuvering one of these back into our deck, and maybe going with a Radovid here to get a leader ability charge back. Istrid also does help a little bit with our leader ability, and obviously Old Spirit Tip is the biggest point slam here. Doesn't seem like we have any way of shutting down Glynis, unless we were to go with a leader ability charge into Margarita, which might be worth doing. Let's do it. We need to be a little bit careful here, because obviously that is a leader ability charge spend. I'm going to put Old Spirit Tip back into our deck, because there's a chance we might be able to get him back out. That'll get Roach out. We will now be able to lock Glynis, which I think is pretty important, because playing her turn 2 in an event in which she will very easily proc at least one round of Assimilate every turn is almost an automatic round win for them. Okay, Torres. That's also an amazing card. Okay, they are really lucking out here. I mean, that Glynis came from their stratagem, but that's obviously humongous. Really wish that he had some armor. Just throw a little Vladimir on him. And Siana potentially gives us a lot of value. Obviously, we're betting on whatever we happen to get next. Tell you what, we could go Siana, and if she remains safe and unlocked, then we could, on our next turn, either play whatever big deploy ability we have with Siana, or use a leader ability charge to get Radovid, because we very much are looking for some more leader ability charges after having used one on Margarita. So, let's go with this. She's also a high provision cost card. So if we had not played her on this turn, then she would have eventually turned into a 13, and at that point you run some risks of that bricking. Granted, they have the perfect answer. So this is just one of those cases where our opponent has consistently out-RNG'd us. Again, Glynis came from their stratagem, so fair enough there, but Torres was obviously humongous, and that Vandergrift's Blade was awfully conveniently timed. We'll get Best Boy out as well. Now, we do have Philippe here, which, because Torres already has Doomed, means 4 turns, if I'm counting correctly, to remove Torres with Philippe. Philippe would have to remain unlocked and live for that long, and we'd have to be competitive enough to go down to 3 cards in round 1, which we may not have enough to make that happen. It's a pretty huge risk, but I'll go for it. By most accounts, I think this is just barely too ambitious to be worth trying, but we'll go for it. And getting a defender, though, to protect Philippe certainly could be of use. They'll go leader building. They might be trying to find a way to lock Philippe, because I'm sure they know what we're going for here. That gets Affin out from their deck as well. So at the very least, what this has done is it's forced them into using their leader ability, which is a little bit of value we're taking away from their round 2/3. Okay. Well, I didn't expect a magic compass, nor did I expect them to be able to get a defender like that. That, I'm guessing, was them running out of time rather than putting the boost on their defender, which would have been more points and also made it more difficult for us to break through their defender. So I think we pass here. Obviously, this is a huge difference that we have right now. And it's just, but again, they use leader ability there, so that's one of the main reasons why they're able to score so many points. But I mean, this was just hard to get a better hand than what they had there. So at least they've invested heavily with their leader ability, and they have gone a card down here. We get Best Boy out from our deck. Not that that's a huge difference maker. Okay, so they have played one more card than us. They may try to push, but I would argue, after having used their leader ability as well, that that's not a great idea. We did not draw into any of our key cards here, so I think we'll probably keep this as is, because we don't want to brick an Erland. That would be devastating at this point. We do have some low provision cost cards, which is probably good to complement our higher provision cost cards here. So that way, if they do try to push, we have some things we can play in the short term, and if it goes long, we have some things that will, by the end of the round, be pretty effective. But we know they have at least one throwaway, and they'll use it here with the spotter. Not sure if that's reason enough for them to try to push further. And we could lock it. The cavalry, if we really want to. Obviously, Spear Tip is the biggest point slam here. So yeah, I guess we'll probably still do this. Give ourselves more of a margin in case they were planning to push. And they will. Alright, I would argue at this point, this is pretty bad faith. They do get spotter up to 12 from Beauclair. Vitality as well. Okay, so we've loved some tall removal. right about now. Caldwell for a second there, I was considering, because there was a moment where we had a very high power card relative to then. But now, I mean, I despise Tibor, although you can make a pretty decent case for playing him here. Royce, in all likelihood, is not going to be able to get a 13 power card to remove you. Almost could have worked if they had not gotten the vitality on this turn. But more likely we'd be using the order ability on our next turn to get more value there. That might still be the best option, either that or Tibor. I mean, both of these guys are very high provision cost cards, so we should play one of them, otherwise they're going to end up bricking. In all likelihood. Let's get rid... It does also involve getting rid of a card, which is not great, because it does reduce the value of Erland in the later rounds. Yes, you could have made a case for dropping Varaxis, although didn't really have anything in the immediate future to use with that. Okay, so Synthesis. So immunity. Telion in... Let's see. So this is obviously the first time we've had patience with Telion in. We don't have anything we can shuffle back to our deck, so our deploy ability here is not helpful. The order ability with backup plan is certainly not bad. But that means the tempo is a little less than we might otherwise like. We could Beauclair of our own on Royce. It means we wouldn't really have a target for Royce just yet. But it does make him quite big. And this is a 13 provision cost card. Telion in, also 13. Yeah. Okay, I guess we can do this. And it does give us some potential carrier value as well, which would be useful to match their Beauclair. Alright, they're going to reset our Royce. And Spear Maiden is not a great card. Now, of course, this Beauclair order is very valuable on this spotter, and we may very well look to use that. Technically, the longer we wait, or at least the more we wait for that vitality kick in, the more effective it will be, so kind of like to hold off a little bit on that. Thinking this turn is definitely going to be Amphibious Assault. The thing is, that will give us a boost. However, we kind of like to have smaller units for Royce to target so that we get more value out of that order ability, so we'll use it. But this is not the most straightforward of choices. I think it's got to be Redanian Agent, though. Probably has to be Redanian Agent. Let's put you here. And that is not enough tempo-wise. Unless we use one of our orders. I guess we can afford to do this. I mean, it's almost the full value on that. They will still get some boost from the vitality, but tempo-wise, it means that we are still well ahead of them, which I think is pretty valuable. And we potentially, if Royce survives, can still get decent value to that as long as we have a relatively small card we can play with it. Okay, now what are they going to get with Vigo? Because can they control Royce is basically the question we're asking here, and they will. However, do we still have, yes, Ardanian Secret Service? So, not so fast. You thought you had the control. Just double check. Did we have Drakenborg? I thought that was the card that we bricked. It was, right? Yeah. Okay, so we don't really need this for Drakenborg Purification. So we can use it on Royce, and we could use Royce on Redanian Secret Service, which is pretty sweet. And then we could... We don't love tutoring things out, even if tutors are usually amazing. Just because... Well, we could use that to get Radovid. Yeah, that's probably worth it. Or Old Spirit Tip. Let's go Purify. Boost. Boost. Radovid. And now they are probably going to want to pass to deny us this Radovid order ability, I would imagine. But if they do, then we are a card up in round 3, and their lead attempt has backfired big time. Alright, well that is what they'll do. And I guess you could technically make a case for playing one more turn here so we can click on this order ability, although I think with 2 leader ability charges we're still feeling okay. And we could get some carryover from Mushy Truffle. I have to imagine we have some bonded units in our starting deck, although I'm actually not entirely sure. I mean, we'll have the order ability carrying over for round 3, though, is, you know, I mean, we should probably try to have last say, which we would have if we pass here, but there's actually a pretty strong case to be made for playing Mushy Truffle there. And combining that with Radovid's order ability. Okay, so now we did successfully defend the bleed. We now have card advantage. We definitely don't want to see Erland. The other card that we don't want to see would be Siggy. So I think for that reason, although we'd ideally like to mulligan Amphibious Assault so that this doesn't turn into a 15... In fact, there are no 15 provision cost cards. Yeah, basically we'll just be patient on this, and eventually it should loop all the way back around, and if it's the last card we play, then it may still give us decent value by then. But as for our first turn play here, let's just see. Is there... So it's going to be 1 leader ability charge for Erland, and then probably Siggy on our second... So third to last turn, second to last turn, and then Siggy, we can use the order ability to get something else boosted out from our deck, which we could have be Old Spear Tip, which is pretty sweet. So I think that's our plan. And Temerian Drummer obviously doesn't have anything to boost just yet, although that's maybe still not a bad option. Let's see if we have any warriors in our graveyard to use with Herald. I don't think we do. We should go Aedirnian Phantom, though. It's basically a Temerian Drummer, except that it activates its boost turn 1, and it also has that order ability as well. Okay, Feral Bond. Not too concerned about that. Oh, they still have the War Council order ability. Okay. Forgot they had the carryover from that. Obviously, we both used our Beauclair orders. Okay, so we could destroy you with the Aedirnian Phantom if we really wanted to. If we think this is going to get destroyed on our next turn, then that is worth doing. Otherwise, we don't use the order ability and continue to get boosted. Definitely don't want to use Troll Porter. That is about the worst possible thing we could play here. I think it's got to be Chapter Wizards. And with this, we've not have any setup with Alumni, have we? Can't use the Vitality on you, nor can we target Skeletal Wolves, unfortunately, so I think it kind of has to be Meditating Mage. Even though that's not amazing in round 3. We'll take our chances on you surviving. Okay. Urchin. Better. But still not a huge concern. They should not boost him, otherwise they can't flip him. Or they shouldn't. Okay, that's a bad play. So they would want to have flipped him on their last turn. In all likelihood, now that's negative points. So now, let's use Chapter Wizards. I imagine we're not... At least can't rely on getting any other more valuable mage, so let's just do that. And then, I think it's probably going to have to be St. Gregory here. Which is not amazing. None of these are all that good. I mean, technically we could put... no, Yuana can't target you. Maybe could get some value out of this, but it's pretty speculative and no beast in our deck, so it's gonna be St. Gregory. And, I mean, it's still not bad. Now we are on our 4th to last turn, so this is the last one that we are... Ooh. So close. So close. In fact, we can destroy you with Aedirnian Phantom, which, without question, is the right play here. This does not work. Not that it really matters, because we're about to remove you, and I think they might have just realized that. Let's probably go Stennis. Melee row to boost up one of these guys. Make it a little bit safer for us to wait on those order abilities. I think we wait one more turn. So this is the last turn in which we're going to wait before using leader ability charges. This next turn, there's the removal on you. Next turn is Erland. That'll boost everyone in our deck. Then next turn is Siggy, and that means Siggy will have time to tutor out Old Spear Tip. That's unfortunate. Artist is possibly the single best card they could have just played, because we're about to play multiple point slams. Technically, Erland does not have a ton of points yet until he uses his order ability, but it will be very effective on both Siggy and Old Spear Tip. I think we have enough of a lead here that we should still be okay, but that was actually very well done. So let's go here, and that's actually a perfect card to put back into our deck. So now it's you first, so that gives us more cards for Siggy to tutor on our next turn. And safest place to put you is... Well, they realize they can't stop us, and so they will forfeit. So there's a look at a new and improved Northern Realms Pincer Maneuver deck for the new Patience is a Virtue seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and take a look at our Patience is a Virtue playlist to see previous decks that we've used in this event as well. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.